Hey, what's up, everybody? This is your favorite preacher girl, Dr. Ranyel. And man, I am so happy for tonight's episode. I am so excited. We are in week two of our series this month called Self Love is the Best Love. And what we're trying to get you to understand this month, sis, as we go through this month of prevention and awareness, that you have to take care of you first. You have to make sure that everything that you are doing, everything that that you apply in your life is worth it and is making the best you. And so I want you to take a moment. We're going to listen to from our sponsors. So let's.
Cause girl, we got the magic, can you see it, baby? I can't imagine you not being with me, baby. I would cross the ocean just so I could be right there with you. You my good thing, darling. You my good thing, darling. And all my expectation was exceeded. You're so much more than I knew that I needed, baby. I can face the world long as I got Jesus. And you my good thing, darling. You my good thing, darling. Condo in Miami.
So we're back. That's Good Thing Live right now. It's available on all streaming platforms. So if you want to get that, you can go on Apple Music, Google Play, or any of your distribution live streaming platforms. Get that song. It's an amazing song and it's blessing marriages all over the country right now. So listen, as we go into our episode this evening, I want us to understand one thing. That if we're going to say that we have self-love and we're going to say that self-love is the best love, I know we always think of self-love as self-care and that we automatically have to start taking care of self. That means pampering ourselves and doing for ourselves and treating ourselves the way that we want other people to be treated. We got to start channeling that same energy. But I want to be clear on tonight that self-love often includes self-check. You heard that right. Self-love often includes checking yourself and making sure, because a lot of times we like to excuse ourselves and we like to offer ourselves a pass to make us feel like it's okay when we act out of character. Or we can say what we want to say, it's okay, I'm doing me. That's an error, sis. We can't just go out and say whatever we want to say and act all kind of way and then get mad when somebody says something about it or they call us certain names because of the type of character or what we're displaying. So that when we say I'm taking care of self first and I'm going to show self-love, that means that sometimes, sis, you got to stop and you got to self-reflect. You got to look at yourself and ask yourself, am I doing what I know I'm supposed to be doing? Am I behaving in the manner in which I know I'm supposed to be behaving? Am I performing in the manner in which I know I'm supposed to be performing? And so I want us to look at that today and say, when I'm saying I love myself and I want the best for myself, that means that I'm also going to check myself. That means I'm also going to check myself and ask myself, where am I going wrong? What can I fix? Where am I making a mistake at? And so when we're saying self-love is the best love, that means I'm checking myself. It also means that I have to maintain self-control. And I know we don't like to talk about that. We don't like to bring up the topic of self-control because when we look at self-control, we say I should be able to do whatever I want to do. I'm grown. Sis, no, you're still held accountable to somebody. Just like our children are held accountable to their parents, we are held accountable to God for our actions, for our decisions, for the way that we're living our lives. Remember that scripture tells us that we are not our own. We were bought at a price. And so if we were bought at a price, we belong to somebody else. God is allowing us to live this life and to steward the things that he has given us. But we must maintain self-control. We must maintain a certain level of holiness, a certain standard. Listen, when we look at self-control, when we define it, self-control is defined, is the Greek word, it's called egkratia, and it means to have dominion within oneself, not by oneself, but dominion within oneself. It is saying that I am able to control my own desires. I am able to control my actions. I am able to control the things that I allow to move me, the things that I allow to get me off kilter. I'm able to control my reactions. I tell kids all the time as I'm counseling them, you may not be able to control what people say. You may not be able to control how people act towards you, but what you can control is your response. Not everything is a turn up situation, girl. Not everything is a turn up situation to where you got to go way off into left field. Not everything require us to take our earrings off. Sometimes we have to control our behavior and control our actions to the point to where we don't even respond. I told my daughters the other day, I said, baby, when they try to bring you down to their level, that's when you rise above the mess. That's when you rise above the chaos. That's when you show them that you have way more control over your responses, that what they are doing and what they are saying does not bother you because you know how to control that. And that comes in. So when I say self-love, that means that we got to do a self-check, a self-inventory. And then we have to start looking at our lives and say, where am I allowing the enemy? Where am I allowing society? Where am I allowing people to cause me to act outside of my character? Ooh, child, y'all don't want to hear that today, but I'm saying we coming out of the pulpit and we talking real. We're gonna talk real. Where are you allowing people to change your character? One of the worst terms I hear all the time is, "Oh, you're about to make me lose my religion." No, you're not. Nobody can make you lose your religion, but you can put your religion aside. You can lose control. You don't lose your religion, but you do lose control. And when we're saying that I'm going to check myself, that means that I got to realize sometimes I do allow what people say to get me out of character. I do allow how people look at me or what they say about me to get me to act in a way that I know I've left behind years ago. Sis, the you that you are today is not the you that you were 10 years ago, but you got to stop letting people bring you back to that place. We know you can go there. We know you can go there. But sometimes we got to say, I can still go there. Don't test me. I can still go there, but I prefer to stay over here because I have control over myself. And so when we're doing a self-check, number one, that means that we have to have self-control. We got to understand the mission. We got to understand what God is instructing us to do in our lives. A lot of times we move away or we miss the assignment. Let's put it like this. We miss the assignment because we are so much focused on everything else that's going around, that's pulling and tugging at our control, that we miss what God is trying to do in us in that moment. A great example, a biblical example of maintaining self-control in the midst of hardships and stressful situation is Esther. And I love the story of Esther because sis understood the assignment. She understood the assignment. Look, she knew that she was in that position to be a blessing to her people. She knew that she was in that situation. She was in that palace for such a time as this. And when the time arose, she remained poised. She remained calm. She remained elegant. And when the time arose for her to enter into the king's courts, to enter into his chambers, she went there like a bad chick, man. She went in there and she stated her claim. She didn't come in there all crazy like, "Look, king, I've been lying, but you're going to have to stop doing what you're doing. They trying to kill my people. That's my cousin and them." She didn't go in there like that. She went in there understanding what God had put her there to do. She explained her case and she received favor from the king. A lot of us are wondering why we are not getting what we want or what we desire in life from our partners, from our husbands, from our family members, from our jobs. Check how you enter in the room. Check your character. If all people can say about you when they look at you is ratchet, is ghetto, is hood, check your character. If they say you mean all the time, check your character. Y'all, we doing self-inventory today. If we're going to be the best versions of ourselves, a part of that is saying, I got an issue with my attitude. I got an issue with the way I respond to people. Or for some of us, I got an issue because I don't know how to be a personable person. Meaning I don't know how to get along with others. Some of us need to go back to the sandbox. Some of us need to go back to the playground and learn how to share again. And so we're doing a self-check and a self-inventory. We have to realize that we got to learn how to have self-control. We have to learn how to say stop when there needs to be stopped. We got to learn to move away from things when we have to move away from things. We have to understand that there's some things that we just won't be able to do because of who we are right now. We're going to have to put some things aside. And so when we're doing a self-check, we're going to have to learn self-control. The second one, in learning self-control, we're going to have to learn how to self-manage. Since we grown now, we can't depend on our mother to tell us what we're supposed to do or how we're supposed to handle difficult situations. I remember when I was just becoming a new mother and a new wife, y'all, I didn't even like to talk to the bill collectors. When people would call and I had a doctor's bill or I had somebody calling, I did not even want to talk to them. I would say, hey, mama, answer the phone. Because I didn't want to have to be in a position where my feelings got hurt or people were fussing or trying to make me feel bad about myself. So I just negated the situation altogether. But in growing up, we have to learn that we're going to have to be able to self-manage. Everybody can't tell you how to live your life. You have to assess your life, look at where you are and where you're trying to go, and manage that thing all the way through. No, you're not going to be able to get from point A to point Z in 2.2 seconds. But you can get from point A to point A1, and then from point A1 to point A2. But you have to learn how to manage yourself, manage your time, manage your resources, manage what you can and cannot do. I know for me, as a diabetic, I struggle with managing and maintaining my weight and my eating habits. When I'm walking and when I walk a mile in the morning and I watch it when my blood sugar is great. But the moment that I let go and I have a moment of mismanagement, it's all over the place. And so when we're trying to do something that we know is in our favor, that we know we need to do, it will require some management on our part. It will require some effort. We're going to have to put in the work. There will be some things that we will have to do. That's just a part of life. If you're going to be the best version of yourself, look, this is not Aladdin. You're not getting 3 wishes. God is not a genie in a bottle. You're going to have to put in work. Scripture calls it faith without works is dead. So you're going to have to put in some work in order to get the results that you're looking for. But it's going to take you managing your own stuff, your time, your resources, your talents, managing your family, your children, your health, your finances. You're going to have to look at those things and say, God, how do you want me to use this? How do you want me to perfect this? What do you want me to do in this situation? And when you learn how to manage it, then you learn how to steward over it better. Then you learn to watch this. Once you learn how to manage it, then you learn how to maximize it. When I first started writing, my dream wasn't to become a publisher. It was just to write, to get the stories out there, to get what God had put in me on the outside. When I first started, I was all over the place, y'all. I was writing here and there. I didn't know what type of stories I wanted to write. I was just everywhere. You might find a book of poetry, a children's book, a self-help book, a love novel. I was everywhere. But as I began to rein in my life and my thoughts, as I began to seek God out and say, God, what do you want me to do in this situation? What would you have me to do? What would bring you the most glory? That's when I began to manage my time better. That's when I began to manage my talents better. And as I began to manage my talents, God began to maximize them. Since you want to be the best version of you, learn how to manage you. And as you manage you, God will maximize that which you are managing. We have one more to talk about, y'all. But before then, let's hear from our sponsor. Hey, what's up, sis? It's your favorite Kingdom Chick, Dr. Ranyel here, and I would like for you to come join me here on the Kingdom Chick Live podcast. If God have come through for you, if he has shown up and showed out in your life, if he has allowed you to overcome some things, I want to hear about it. So email me at minranyel@gmail.com. That's MINRANYEL@gmail.com, and you can be a co-host on the Kingdom Chick Live podcast. So we're back, y'all. And like I said, I want to hear from you. So come join me. Send me an email. My personal email, minranyel@gmail.com. That's MINRANYEL@gmail.com. And I want to talk to you. I want to hear from you. Tell me your story. Tell me how God has changed your life. Tell me how he has turned things around for you. Allow the body of Christ to be renewed, refreshed, and restored by what God did in your life. And look, like I said, we're taking it from the pulpit, girl. It doesn't have to be all proper and you got to be decent and in order now. But it ain't got to be. We're going to use even bad grammar. It ain't got to be all put together. If your story is a broken story because God had to break you in order to rebuild you, I want to hear about it. And so look, jumping right back into things, we're talking about self-love. We're talking about self-love, and we're saying that self-love is the best love. And if we're going to become that means we're going to become the best versions of ourselves. We're going to become all that God has created us to be. We're going to become the very thing, that the very essence of who God designed us to be. But if we're going to do that, we know that sometimes we have to do a self-check. That means I have to take inventory of my life, and I have to start removing those things that are not of God and replacing them with things that are of God. Sis, remove that negativity out of your life. Remove the chaos out of your life and replace it with peace. Stop allowing people to disturb your peace and to disturb your happiness. That even if that means that you got to move away from people, even if that means you got to move away from a job that just keeps bringing you down, even if that means you got to move away, sit back from some friends or some family members that every time you go around them is just draining you. You have to preserve your peace. And so when we're doing a self-check, we're saying, look, I have to have self-control. I can't let everybody and everything cause me to stray away from God or to act out of character. I am no longer giving people power over me. I am no longer allowing people the authority to make me to dictate how my day will be. It's time out for that, girl. Stop. We cannot let a coworker dictate whether we're going to be happy or sad at work, whether we're going to be bothered and annoyed or joyful at work. We cannot allow our kids to dictate how we're going to feel when we wake up in the morning. Yeah, it may be chaotic. Look, if you live in my house and we got 5 kids, it's chaotic sometimes. But I will not allow chaos to dictate my happiness or my joy. I will own back my joy. I will take back my peace. And so when we got to learn self-control, we have to say that I'm not going to do those things because I know I'm not supposed to. It may feel good. And let me tell you something. Sin is like a cupcake. We think of it like a rattlesnake, and we think that it's just going to come out and bite us. But that's not how sin presents itself. Sin presents itself like a cupcake. It makes itself desirable. It makes itself look tempting and look pleasurable until we reach up and we go and go to get it. Then we realize it's really a rattlesnake. But it doesn't present itself that way. And so we have to learn how to stay away. The scripture says that we flee from sin. And so we have to learn that when we present it with it, we know that God will make a way of escape. And so we have enough self-control to turn away from it. Y'all about to make me run up in here, because we have to understand that God does not create us to fall into temptation. He did not design us to be victims or to be partakers of sin, but he has given us the free will to where when faced with it, we have the opportunity to and the self-control to turn away from it. So that's what I want you to do. We want to practice self-control as we're understanding that self-love is the best love. We're going to practice self-management. That means I'm going to manage my time. I can't sit scrolling on TikTok all day. I have to, if I want to be the best version of me, I got to work on me. And working on me does not mean that I can stay up all night long and then I'm tired and sluggish in the morning. That means that I got to do things that's going to make me the best version of me. I have to do things that's going to keep me healthy. So I'm going to walk. I'm going to put the jelly beans down. I'm going to put the Little Debbie cakes aside. I'm not going to drink alcohol till I'm blue in the face. I'm not going to just go out all night long and then I'm not home with my children and my family. I'm a self-check. I'm going to self-manage. I don't need anybody to tell me how to live my life. I will look at my life and I will create a plan for my success. And thirdly, and lastly, if we're going to show self-love, we're going to have to learn how to self-reflect. And that's one thing, sis, that I know as women we often do, is that we think, and all the time we're constant thinkers. But as we're thinking, we need to be reflecting on where we did great, where we fell short, and how can we correct it. Do you ever, let me ask you this, do you ever sit back at the end of your day and reflect on your day? Who did you inspire today? Who did you make smile today? How did you show God's love today? Where did I miss the mark today? We have to begin to reflect on our lives, our daily lives, not just the big things that are going on in our world, not just the big programs and the big events, but even those small, intimate parts of our lives. We need to sit back and reflect and ask ourselves, how did I do in this area of my life? I remember, I was yelling at my oldest daughter, Nevaeh, and I was fussing at her and I was telling her, this and you did this and blah, 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 blah. And she starts talking back, and she starts trying to justify why she did something. And I just was like, straight up, shut up. Don't talk to me. You don't talk back to me. Stop disrespecting. You so disrespectful. And then as I went back into the room, I started reflecting, like, how did I handle that situation as a mother? Did I encourage my child? Did I speak life into my child? I know I'm trying to discipline her, but am I trying to break her? Is that my goal, is to break her so far down that she can't come back up? No, and that's no parent's desire. And so I had to realize, you know what, Ranyel, you didn't handle that situation correctly. I had to go back upstairs and talk to her. And I was like, you know what, I'm sorry that I kept yelling at you. You see, the way I grew up, you couldn't talk back. You couldn't even justify your reasoning. But I want to hear. But this is how we're going to do it. Y'all, it's like a new lifestyle for me now, because we were raised, you don't talk back. You don't talk while an adult is talking. But I had to understand that not everything that we were taught when we were younger was right. And so as I reflected on that situation, it changed the way I thought when it came to parenting. I began to allow my kids to have a part in the discussion when we're disciplining them. Now, still, they know they can't talk to mama while I'm fussing. You just sit down and wait till I'm done, and then we can talk about this like normal people. But when I'm in that zone, just let me get it out. But I had to understand that I have to, Ranyel, come on back down and let them explain themselves. But I wouldn't have done that if I wouldn't have sat back and reflected on how this situation impacted me as a mother, my daughter, and our relationship going further. Y'all, self-reflection is such an integral part of life that you will find growth as you reflect. Because you can say, man, I really, really screwed that up. That was awful. Or then you may say, like, man, give yourself a pat on the back, like, girl, you did it. You did that. Because as you're reflecting, you're looking at some things that you did really well and that you should applaud and get praise for and thank God for. But as we self-reflect, we are coming into an understanding that there may be some things that I need to change about me. There may be some things that I need to rearrange in my life or in my approach. And so if we're going to be the best versions of ourselves, and we're saying that we're going to love ourselves first, and we're going to give ourselves that real love, that true love, the best love, that means that we got to check ourselves. And a part of checking ourselves is reflecting back on how we handle situations. I know even with my encounters with my husband, I began to see with his prompting and him telling me that, Ranyel, when you get upset, rather than talk about it, you retreat and you get silent and you just stare out the window, or you don't want to, you just say okay just to get along. Y'all, I hate confrontation. I'm like my daddy. I hate confrontation. I don't like to argue. And so in a way to not argue, I'll just say, okay, all right, yes, fine. I understand. But the situation never gets resolved. And so when he brought that up to me, I really had to go back and look over my life, and I started realizing, oh my God, that's exactly what I do. That is exactly how I handle things. And I had to realize that that is not helpful. It's not doing anything but prolonging the inevitable, because guess what? At the end of the day, you got to address the issues in your marriage. You got to address the issues in your parenting. You got to address all of those things. And so just ignoring it or just going along to get along is not going to solve anything. But I wouldn't have realized that if one, he wouldn't have brought it to my attention, and then two, I wouldn't have went back and reflected on it. And so when we're going to be the best versions of ourselves, because we're saying, sis, I'm taking care of me first. I'm doing what I need to do to be the greatest me that I can be. Girlfriend coming out on top. That means that I will have to check myself. The old song used to say, check yourself before you wreck yourself. Sis, I'm encouraging you. Check yourself today. Ask yourself where you can be better. Ask yourself how you can go be greater. Ask yourself, what have I been doing that have been amazing that I want to keep doing in my life? And what are my areas of improvement? I call them glows and grows. Where are you doing great that's just glowing? And what are some grows that you can encounter? What are some things that you can do to become better, to become wiser, to become stronger, to be the best version of yourselves? And I guarantee you that as you look at those things and you self-reflect, you self-manage, you have self-control, and you put yourself in check, you will realize that as the days go on, you begin to see the person, the woman in you that you always knew you could be. Sis, I love you. We'll be back next week with another part, with part 3 of this series. But look, catch me next week, because we're going to come back and we're going a little bit deeper. But if you have a conversation that you want to have with me, if you want to be on the in Kingdom Life Studios with me, hit me up, y'all. Hit me up at minranyel@gmail.com. Again, that's minranyel, minranyel@gmail.com. And you can be sitting here with me. You may have a topic that you say, hey, Ranyel, I don't want to be on live. I don't want to be on the podcast, but I want to hear about this. Can you explain this a little more? Can you bring this up for conversation? Shoot me an email and tell me what you want to hear. Maybe there's some things that you want to talk about. Let me know and we'll talk about it right here on the Kingdom Chick Live podcast. Until next week, y'all, we're out of here. Peace.